We're coming from ground zero. It's an interesting story, I tell you. Anytime, I have opportunity to talk about it, it's interesting. I mean, how do you take up a job where they're telling you there's no salary?
Yeah,
they talk like clerk of House of Assembly.
Documentary 20th anniversary.
So let me keep the phone here.
Action.
This is Mr. Ibifuru Asawo. He is one of the founders of Cinfores Limited. Cinfores is one of Nigeria's most innovative tech companies. Renowned for his humor and leadership, Mr. Ibifuru drives Cinfores' business, delivering disruptive digital solutions across diverse sectors. From educational tools to legal software, Cinfores has left no stone unturned, and they're turning 20.
Well, we never envisaged this journey, but it feels great, especially when you look at what people say about enterprises, in developing countries, and of course, the kind of economic situation we found ourselves. For us to have weathered all of these things, in the last 20 years, I think it feels great.
For me, Cinfores being 20 is a thing of joy. It's like the child has grown to a certain level, and so there's this joy inside of me, and being one of the pioneer members of the Cinfores group is like, it wasn't a wasted effort.
It's not just a thing of joy, it's also the fact that when your entirety is into something and then you give it your best, you may not be able to even ascertain what it will become years after.
Interesting, I would say, considering where we're coming from. So 20 years is big, but then for Cinfores, I think 20 years is massive to be able to keep this organization together for 20 whole years.
Back in the day, Cinfores had a strong focus on education. The company's former mission and vision statements also reflected this.
We started with education. First 15 years, we pride ourselves as ICT for development in education.
Even the education where we started from was basically just BrainFriend. And then from presentation we did on BrainFriend, someone who saw the BrainFriend gave us the task to say, okay, you could do more than BrainFriend. I need you to do something that could manage, a school, like a management system. That brought about the e-campus.
I remember when we went into our first school then, that was University Polytechnic then, now Kempoli. Excited, just had the opportunity. Professor B.B. Fakai, God bless him, took us down there and we had the opportunity to explore, our products, that's e-campus. We kept on working and expanding, and then the university government came along.
As time went on, Cinfores adapted to changing circumstances. They realized that their expertise could extend beyond education.
In 2017, the executive governor of Rivers State, as at then, Nyesom Wike, called us, and then asked us if we could actually help, in proffering solution. And of course, the headache they had then was the public service.
The more we engaged with, the public sector, our eyes really opened to see the needs for streamlining operations, automating it. Initially it was more about blocking revenue leakages and increasing revenue, but it's evolved into also improving business efficiency and service delivery.
Flexibility is one of our core values, and this growth, will go to show that, yeah, we're actually very, very flexible. And we are also very strong when it comes to taking on challenges head on.
One of the recent challenges the company has had to deal with was obtaining ISO certification.
The idea of the ISO, it came like a surprise to us initially. However, that came from also, encouragement or push from some clients that we had, right? So we had some high caliber clients who felt that, no, if you want people to take you seriously, then you must consider, the certification. Right? You must be ISO certified. So we just took it upon ourselves. And even when we started, though, we started small. We just felt like, okay, let's try. Let's see whether we can do it. By the time we saw the documentations and all of that, at the point we felt we will not be able to carry on with this. But certain persons, number one, the MD was dogged to say, no, we can do it, and we'll do it.
We've always tried to reinvent ourselves. If we're going out there to see how processes will be re-engineered and organizations will be better, than when we met them, then of course we also need to re-engineer our processes.
We're no longer just playing within just the Nigerian space. Like, we're going out there and we're getting more visibility. So we had to raise our standard to match up with international requirements. And so that's caused us to embark on a project to get ISO certified, which we actually got last year. And this year so far, we've also gone through the surveillance audits and also passed.
For Cinfores, the story starts here, at the River State College of Arts and Science, now known as the Captain Elechi Amadi Polytechnic.
I was running the remedial course then. I was trying to remedy physics. Ikechi was also there. All right, he too was also running the remedial course. For River State University, we are meant to be undergraduates. Of course, we didn't meet up some of their requirements, and we are running those remedy courses. At the end of our 1-year program, we all were admitted into the university. Incidentally, we all found ourselves in the Nigerian Fellowship of Evangelical Students, NIFES.
And together we just grew. We bonded better. We grew to contributing money to cook food that would last us. So Furo had a refrigerator in his room. We weren't roommates. And then we would cook together and store the food in his room. So at necessary times, we would go eat together. What began like a food network grew into a bond of friendship. We became absolutely inseparable. We now became like brothers. And from then onwards, we just began to grow together. So it was easy to share a common business story when it mattered most, because through time, we just trusted each other so much so that we could pool resources together and set up a common vision, which was the vision of eradicating examination malpractice at the time it began. And that's how Cinfores was born.
Cinfores, as a company, started out supplying and setting up computers for individuals and businesses. Their parents' living rooms served as office spaces for meetings. In 2002, a 6-month nationwide academic strike prompted them to explore an additional project. Their plan was simple, yet brilliant. Compile past questions, answer them, package the questions and answers onto a CD, and market it. However, the idea of distributing the package via CDs required more help with writing code. Meet Mr. Boneri, just the help they needed. Funny how he used to hate programming.
So when we met, and at that point I was somehow okay when it comes to at least those basic programming, basic language, doing all sorts of things with basic language. So I was good at that point. So when the issue of writing something to do with examination came in, I said, it's an easy task. What you just do is this. Initially, it just came from me as for an idea. So what do I think? That because of the level of examination malpractice, they want a situation where they can come up with a software that can help to curb the menace. I said, well, it's very simple. If you want to if you want to write a software for examination, go a test, code it like this. People answered questions, store the answers somewhere. At the end of the day, you compare, you give your results, and that's it. That's when they started gathering questions and all that. And then by the time we came back and said, okay, let's do the software. I said, okay, no problem, we'll do it. So that was how we got the software started.
So that's the spark, from that sitting room, it became a major thing that we thought we could pursue, and we pursued it. We started with 100 questions for 10 subjects, 10 major subjects, and that was, our target then. And then we pursued it vigorously. Before we could end, the strike was called off. Initially, we thought it would just be 2 weeks engagement, and then, we'll become big boys. And then, of course, 2 weeks turned to 2 months, and then strike was called off, and we all had to face our project again. After we finished the final year project, we had to now come back to this our project, because it became like a bigger project compared to the school project that we had. And then, we followed it up until today.
After graduation, the MD's cousin gifted Cinfores a portion of an office space at 110 Agri Road. From their new office, they diligently pitched their ideas even with limited listeners. In 2005, Total Energy sponsored Cinfores to participate in a science and tech fair at the Hotel Presidential. It was during this event that fortune smiled upon them, a stroke of luck that changed their trajectory.
The governor narrowly missed showing up for that event. The professor, the Minister of Science and Technology then, Professor Titi Song, was coming, and it was required if a minister is coming for a program, should pay some courtesy visit to the governor. The governor should host him, come for this program. It's a Rivers-sponsored program. But by some stroke of luck or fate, the governor didn't come. If the governor was to come, he'll give the welcome address, and the minister will give the keynote address, and there may not be space for us to pitch our idea. So that's why I say by some stroke of fate, the governor did not come. It was delayed at another meeting, and so the minister understood and delivered his keynote address. And then the gameplay was, the organizers knew we had something bright to say. And they said, okay, are you ready? Show up. And so within split seconds, we were called up to the podium just immediately after the minister's speech, because that was the cream of the event, right? Anything else was just, part of, the charade. But the cream of the event was something meaningful. Let the guests go home with meaning and power. And that's where, we threw in our presentation. And it seemed like we were very well calculated, because the minister expressed some prayers, some desires. I want Bill Gates of Nigeria. I want to inspire this, I want to inspire that. And so the lead presenter then, Ibifuro Asao, right, took advantage of that. We had a quick chat, and we highlighted some things he must mention, and he went in. It seemed like it was a perfect fit, because he was answering the prayers of the keynote speaker. In fact, the keynote speaker had to ask for a second session to come react to what our presentation was. And that was it. He got the crowd, standing and clapping, because he was like, this is it. And that one statement laid credence to all of what we have been pursuing for several years.
This was the break Cinfores needed. Cinfores experienced a turning point. The company's inaugural product, BrainFriend, launched in 2007 at the Shehu Musa Yar'Adua Center in Abuja, 2 years after the Science and Tech Fair. Subsequently, they relocated to a new office space at the Transamadi Gardens, where their operations became more focused. At this time, this was a big deal because in the past, everybody in the company worked on the same things.
Yeah, the challenges for me was just everybody just doing the same thing, everybody. We never really had this thing called department. We're just doing massive attack, massive defense, and all that. Yeah. So I was privileged to be amongst those that were doing the massive attack and massive defense.
With the momentum of this move to Transamadi Gardens, Cinfores could also afford to consistently pay salaries.
We were about
10 or thereabouts. About 10 of us. But I don't think we had up to 10 computers. Then the office then too, yeah, it was a closer, it was a shop, you know. I think eventually they turned that place to a chemist shop, you know, when we left. So when we moved to Transamadi Garden, by this time I know that everybody at least has a desktop to himself, you know. So everybody has a system that they need to work with. So we are now able to, you know, afford working tools for staff. Then, you know, and the number also had increased, you know. So if I'm not mistaken, I know that at Transamadi Garden we got up to 30-something or thereabout from 10 staff at Agri Road. You know, we now had 30-something persons, you know, at the garden.
That was where we formed the structure. I think basically myself, Allah, Mebari, Blessing Johnson, Kiana, late Kiana, may also rest in perfect peace. We are the first set of managers, right? When we formed the structure, then I was handling logistics, manager logistics, Mebari manager technical, Allah admin, Blessing is the accountant of the office. We're about 6 to 5 of us as managers.
When we were at Agri Road, it was like we could just come to work, just wearing our normal clothes. Nobody was particular about anything. But Transamadi Garden somehow brought a sense of dressing. So it's like, oh, we're working now. So it means we have an organization. And then the shoes began to come in, you know, replacing the slippers, the palms and all that. And then we're now deliberate about dressing. And I remember, I think in January that year or in February that year, and we had a bonus, a wardrobe bonus. That has never been anymore, you know, but we had a wardrobe bonus. So I think there was a need for us to just come up a bit with our look. And so that was done. And then somehow we began to have the work look, kind of.
Another thing that is, you know, worthy of note is that at Agri Road, you know, salaries weren't paid. It wasn't consistent. You know, for me, I still tell my friends that, you know, we started this job, you know, without salary. And for some time, I doubt if we paid salary. We did not pay salary at Agri Road. I think effectively, you know, salary proper started from Transamadi Garden. You know, that's when you're now sure. At Agri Road, you know, it was an inconsistent 8,000 naira. That's the way we do it. You know, when you come today, if you come weekly, we pay 2,000 naira every week. So if we happen to go out and struggle and we're able to get something, we share. You know, but the week that we don't have, we're not going to pay you. And when we don't pay, you know, the next week, maybe by the 3rd week, you know, if something comes out, it's not that they are going to pay you the back one, the previous week, or they will now pay you, it's cancelled. So it was that's the condition. But when we got to the garden, at this point, you know, salary was consistent. You know, we started paying salary. Workers could now tell how much is their pay. You know, we're able to structure something, you know, where stipends can now be paid. And by God's grace, from that time till this moment, we have never, you understand, never, you know, stopped paying salary. Salary has been continuous.
One person who comes up a lot when they talk about their past is Professor Fakai. He was at the Tech Summit, but their paths did not cross until a year later at another fair. Professor Fakai had and still has really nice things to say about Cinfores.
No, well, the truth is that whatever presentation they made to the minister, I was not aware. They reported that their products and the things they were dreaming and what they were doing, they had presented themselves to the minister and was very impressed with what they were doing, and then talked about making them become, you know, mega in terms of giving them the support. That support, like they said, never came, because what was it supposed to be? Probably, like we say, startup, somehow, what they will now use. And so what was also very, very good was that I felt what they were bringing was what I could try. That's the reason why they keep saying, when I told them, you know what, I'm giving you a chance. It's like I want to go and meet the governor. I want to have a good haircut. And it is an appointment I won't want to miss. And I want to be well presented. And then I come and you say you know how to barb. Then I sit down and give you my hair. And you remember you cannot plant, the hair back. So I told them exactly that story. I said, okay, I'm here now. Do that. If anything goes wrong, you will know it is you. And that is the challenge they took, and they never disappointed me. That's the truth. Meeting them, as it were, at the summit, I just saw young people who were very interested in, doing something. And what was I to do? I now had to see how, I can interact with them since they were ready to do something. But I remembered when they came up, two things happened. They came into my office, and the MD, Ibufuro, looked back and told me, "Sir, we have things in common." What? They saw at my back, there was a picture that I was given by the Old Boys Association of Government Comprehensive Secondary School, Borokiri. And they saw Simple Apparatus. And that's, what is the motto of comprehensive. There's always be prepared. So, and I said, oh, you went to that school? They said. Then the other thing again was that I found out I was meeting people who were committed in faith, and they were serious Christians and born-again Christians. And I now found these two things, the background that they had, and then one other one was very interesting. Somebody in the group that came was a graduate of the Polytechnic where I was rector. I said, you mean this? And the person did not even do IT. He was in the management science, but he was part of the group. I said, this must be very, very serious.
It was indeed serious, and Cinfores has been moving upward since then.
Even though at the beginning, of course, I didn't want to stay in Cinfores because there was really nothing to make anybody to want to stay there. They had like 3 systems, an office that was not even the organization's office. It was the now MD's cousin's office that he just gave a session. That, okay, his brother should just be managing. So looking at the place, there was really nothing to make you think they will even get 20 years.
Then at Agri Road, there's one thing that I really appreciate in them then is love. They love each other. They just care for each other. Then when they went to eat, as Boneri said that I was the one buying their bole. I was the one actually managing their food then. That every afternoon they will give me money. I don't know who brings the money. They will just give me money, go and buy bole. Then I will go and I will buy bole. Sometimes I use one big bowl and buy the bole. And all of them, they will just gather at a place and they eat in that one bowl. You understand? There's no discrimination. There is no attitude. All of them, they are just united then. And when they are doing something, they don't suspect anybody. They just go straight and do whatever they want to do in unison. In unison. I think that love pushed me harder. And another thing is, right from the beginning of the organization, they have that integrity. They have the integrity. And they also care for the members of the staff, starting from that beginning, not just today. They always care for one another. They always care for people that are working with them. I think that's where I got my motivation.
I love trusting people. I love trusting people. When I work with people, I don't normally have this doubt in me about them or their personalities or their character. So I like, okay, this person is here, okay, let me trust this person and see how it will pan out, okay? And I think I trusted him enough because he
He will come and he will remind us about the dream, about our targets, our focus, where we need to be, the emerging times and all. So, and I love hearing things like that, out of the norm. Okay, and so that actually propelled me, not the money. And I went neck deep into the whole Cinfores thing, and I did everything with the whole of my heart, believing that things will happen one day.
Yes, the Cinfores story inspired me a lot. Like you said, they started from nothing. I remember when there are times when the MD would, when he's addressing us, he'll be talking about how they all started. Sometimes they used to sleep over. They were not even paid salaries and all of that. And gradually, they kept working. They kept believing that someday, they will be big. They didn't even imagine that they will come out this big, but they were just hopeful that things will get better. And that inspired me a lot, that I should keep working hard despite the present challenges that I find myself. I should keep working hard, that someday my labor would pay off. Let me just keep it that way.
So apart from buying into the vision, I also bought into that slogan that says poised to make you relevant. Because having joined Cinfores, at the time I joined Cinfores, I was coming from a place where I'd lost 9 years of my life, just waiting on healing, because I had a very bad health challenge at the time. So when I was called upon to do the work I came to do, I found myself, wow, that's poised to make you relevant. Just, it just made me feel very, relevant, that yes, you're doing something very, very good and honest. So I think that's one of the things that has really kept me going.
When we got to Transmagic Garden, we also saw that, the company was getting bigger, more jobs were coming. Then by this time, we would have also started working with UST.
We envisaged more clients, and we really did have more clients, so we needed more people. So I really remember at one point, I was staying in staff, and some new staff were recruited, and then they had to stay in the balcony, in the walkway. They're just people, makeshift spaces, workstations had to be created. So there at the Transmagic Garden, we are all in a very tight space. But coming over to this place, it's a better space, a better environment, a more comfortable space.
We needed more space. So there was the need, to get this property where we're currently located. So that's how the growth, that's how we got to this point.
This compound accommodates most of Cinfores' staff. It represents a remarkable upgrade from the 110 Agri Road and Transmagic Garden offices. The environment is conducive for the Cinfores family, providing ample space for various departments and their usual non-work activities, a true testament to the office culture.
The office culture at Cinfores is, I would describe it as a, family kind of culture.
Yeah, the truth, Cinfores is indeed a family. Cinfores is a family because, there is this bond, there is this act of, togetherness, there is this friendship that we enjoy, there is also this commitment that you also see. You see people being responsible for one another. You see an organization that is not like the regular organization. You see an organization that, you see people carry one another's burden. The organization carries your own burden too. At least I can attest to this, because some time ago I was telling somebody a story that this organization is one organization that I know that I could be eating, while I'm eating, and somebody just say, come. And, I run out of the place and I come back after like 1 hour. I won't even feel anyhow. I'll just pick up that same food, continue to eat without any fear, without any form of, thinking that, somebody may have, done something to hurt me. So it is that kind of, family. And it's also an environment that, will drive you to be self-motivating. This environment, it's not an environment where you come and you expect that, people will hold you and spoon-feed you. No, Cinfores is not like that. Cinfores will make you to unleash your potentials, So that's the way I look at it. That's the way I see the environment. So I think it's a good culture, especially, because of the demography of the people that are working.
So we have we have the agri generation, we have transformative generation. Then we even have the Okujago generation, like 2 or 3 generations. So we're even having the very, very, very young people join us, and the operations is quite different.
We felt that we're getting older. I mean, Cinfores was born when we were 23 and the rest of them, and this is 20 years. So you can see that we're not as young as we were 20 years ago. So we feel, okay, as part of the Friday thing, we need people who are keeping fit. And so we made an organizational culture to come do some jogging, some exercise, but with an incentive. And so there's what we call the Cinfolympics. It's a sports festival that comes quarterly. So every quarter we change the leadership, and then we also change the teams. And it has been very helpful, and we're not wrong. So beyond, the seriousness of work, there is the soft side of work, there's the free side of work. At the level of the Cinfolympics and the CCTV, we realize that everybody is just one and the same. I mean, there's no boss.
It's a vibrant place. We're all young. So people that are not young, I find it very difficult to find a place for them because we need quite a lot of energy. So like you stated, yes, energy is one of the things that we look out for. The kind of work we do is highly sedentary, is tasking, and you require quite a lot of energy. The other bit has to do with innovation. Okay, we want a place where people are highly innovative because we are re-engineering processes for people. So these are things that do not really exist, okay, or where they exist, what we can do to see how we can improve on what is currently, existing. So it requires people to be highly, innovative. And then the other bit is the bit that has to do with trust. We need trustworthy people because of the amount of information. Bulk of the businesses that we do a lot of data warehousing. We expect that people will be trustworthy so that as they handle other people's, information, they can also keep them in trust and then ensure that the information or the numbers in terms of even when it has to do with payments, all of these things are kept, within the organization. So energy, innovation, and then of course trust are 3 key things that, I would want to use to qualify us here.
Looking ahead, Cinfores continues to innovate and grow. The team is motivated by a shared vision and a strong office culture. What does the future hold for this dynamic company?
Well, I see Cinfores going beyond this point, even going out of the shores of Nigeria in some few years to come.
I would say we have great possibilities. If we play our cards right, we can position ourselves as one of the forerunners of innovation in this country and beyond, especially in the public sector. If you look at our track record, what we've done mostly is public sector driven, which is like our passion. And not many people are doing what we're doing. Not many people are taking the time and the pains and the energy to put into something like this, because it might not be as rewarding as everybody you see from the outside, but it has its benefits. And I would say what has led us to this point, which is trying to see a better society for ourselves, our children, and community at large, is what I still see in the future of Cinfores. Our drive is basically, impacting lives. And as much as their lives to impact, we have a future.
Cinfores in the future, for me, Cinfores has already positioned itself to be a very adaptive entity. So yes, the future, it's not always certain with various innovations coming up, AI, and we're not sure of where that is taking us to. I see Cinfores as adapting to what the future unfolds because of its unique way of operations.
I made an address to the group on the 14th anniversary, particularly as I had to visit the headquarters of Cinfores. I was impressed. I also addressed Cinfores at the 17th anniversary. And I could manage to keep myself because I was seeing the growth. But when I had to see Cinfores at 19th anniversary, sincerely speaking, that day I could not hold back my tears of joy. It took me moments to gather myself to be able to speak. Cinfores moved away, not moved away, but added on several things, not school management system and results and so on, which were the key things we said. The experience had to drive them into the industry, into the courts, into the hospital, into several things, transport surveillance. It's good, the Bible says that we should not, look down on days of little beginning.